All right, let's get right into a story that honestly sounds like it's straight out of a spy movie. We're talking about a massive corporate espionage case that starts, of all places, in a coffee shop, but quickly spirals into a full-blown national security crisis. And at the heart of it all, the most advanced technology on the planet. It sounds so normal, right? A few engineers from TSMC, that's the world's biggest and most important chip maker, just meeting up at a local Starbucks. But this wasn't about catching up over lattes. No, this was the end of the line. This was the scene where investigators were waiting to catch them in the act, literally photographing top secret files. And just look at the scale of this thing. We are talking about more than 400 secret documents. And these weren't just some boring internal reports. Oh no. This was the blueprint, the crown jewels for the next generation of semiconductor technology. So that's the real question here, isn't it? How does a quiet data leak from a handful of employees busted in a coffee shop blow up into this massive international incident? An incident that pulls in Taiwan, Japan, and even has implications for the United States. Well, that is exactly what we are going to unpack. First things first, to really understand the crime, you've got to understand the prize. What in the world is this 2-nanometer technology? And why is it so valuable that people would risk prison and their entire careers for it? To put it simply, 2-nanometer, or 2nm as you'll hear it called, is the absolute bleeding edge of technology. It's the recipe for making microchips that are smaller, faster, and way more powerful than anything we have today. Whoever masters this process basically holds the keys to the future of, well, everything. And this is why it's such a big deal. We're not just talking about your next phone being a little bit faster. This technology is the engine for the most advanced AI, for the supercomputers tackling climate change and disease, and yeah, for the critical defense systems that countries rely on for their security. The nation that leads in 2-nanometer technology leads the world. Simple as that. And that is precisely why Taiwan isn't messing around. The government has officially labeled 2-nanometer tech a national core key technology. That means stealing it isn't just corporate espionage anymore. It's considered a direct threat to the security of the entire nation. So how did they do it? I mean, TSMC is legendary for its security. It's like a digital Fort Knox. Well, the answer is kind of shocking. They found a weak spot that millions of us became familiar with over the last few years: working from home. This chart really tells the whole story. When you're on site at a TSMC facility, it's a fortress. Strict physical security, absolutely no personal phones allowed, and constant digital monitoring. But the pandemic-driven shift to remote work created this massive loophole. All of a sudden, key engineers had access to the company's most sensitive data from their home office, with their personal smartphone sitting right there on the desk. And the actual method they used was just stunningly simple. Step 1. Log in from home on your company laptop. Step 2. Open up the secret 2-nanometer files. Step 3. Pull out your personal phone and just take pictures of the screen. This brilliantly sidestepped all the sophisticated digital security. There were no weird data transfers to detect, no screenshot software being triggered, because the actual theft wasn't digital. It was physical. It was a clever plan for sure, but it wasn't perfect. So how did they finally get caught? It wasn't some anonymous tip. It was what you might call a ghost in the machine, a security algorithm that noticed something just wasn't right. And this is the detail that unraveled the whole conspiracy. The problem wasn't that the thieves were sloppy. The problem was that they were the opposite. Their behavior was too perfect, too clean. And in the world of cybersecurity, a pattern that's too perfect is a giant flashing red light. And here's the number that gave them away: 3. Every single time one of these engineers accessed the secret 2-nanometer files, the session lasted for almost exactly 3 minutes. Not 2 minutes and 45 seconds, not 3 minutes and 10 seconds, almost precisely 3 minutes. Every time. That's not how humans work. Humans get distracted. Security teams figured it was the exact amount of time they calculated they needed to open the files, snap the photos, and log out without triggering other alerts. That robotic, inhuman consistency is what set off the alarm. And once that digital tripwire was hit, TSMC's response was incredibly fast. Their InfoSec team flagged the anomaly and quickly zeroed in on 9 suspicious employees. The 3 main suspects, guys working directly on the 2-nanometer project, were fired on the spot. 6 others were reassigned, and the entire file of evidence was turned over to the authorities to begin a criminal investigation. Now, this quickly became much bigger than just an internal problem for TSMC. The moment this story broke, it sent a massive shockwave across the entire global tech industry, all the way to the highest levels of government. So let's quickly map out the international players here, because it gets complicated. You have TSMC in Taiwan, obviously the victim. Then the alleged recipient of the stolen data is a Japanese company called Tokyo Electron, or TEL. And here's the twist. TEL is a crucial equipment supplier to TSMC. Awkward. And TEL is also tied to Rapidus, which is basically Japan's government-backed national team trying to get back in the advanced chip game. You can see how messy this is. And that brings us to the real fallout, the ripple effect. First, as we said, this is being treated as a major national security event in Taiwan. Second, it creates a huge strain on the really important tech alliance between the US, Japan, and Taiwan, 3 partners who are supposed to be working together. And third, it's forcing every single tech company out there to take a long, hard look at the hidden dangers of remote work. And you can be sure this story is not over, not by a long shot. As industry analyst Lu Xingji points out, the next logical step here is a massive legal war. Can you imagine? TSMC suing its own critical supplier, Tokyo Electron, and Japan's national chip project, Rapidus. The fallout from that would be absolutely enormous. All of which kind of leaves us with this one big lingering question. This whole case used a modern convenience, working from home, to steal a future technology. It proves that maybe the biggest security threat isn't a hacker 1,000 miles away, but the simple physical space between an employee's laptop and their phone. In this new world we live in, it really makes you wonder, is any secret truly safe anymore?